Hello there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. How's it going? Welcome back to the wonderful world of Team Fortress 2, where the intelligence doesn't matter, and there's only one class in the game. Dr. Heat's Flames Man, with a jetpack. Yeah, I don't think I exaggerate when I say the only thing that matters is the jetpack. I can think of maybe a few things that might be worth noting, like the napalm launcher, or the fart joke, or the shitty holy mackerel, and what I consider to be the final part of the complete lunchbox set for the heavy. But I'll be honest, the jetpack is the only thing that matters to me. I wanted to hold off on doing any videos on the new Pyro update for a while. Most of it was to just let things simmer down and have all the initial hype put aside, while the rest is reserved for complaining about things which I don't like about said update. But who cares? Jetpack! So the thermal thruster is the topic of this video. What is it, and how does it work? Well, it's a secondary weapon for the Pyro, which does not function passively, meaning you must actively equip the jet thrusters before taking off into the skies. And that does entail a longer than average switching time between weapons, so you can't just take off in an instant when the situation looks kinda hairy. The thermal thruster can be equated to an aerial version of the Demoman's shield charge, only without being locked on a horizontal or vertical axis. Depending on where you want to jump, you need to aim slightly upward to cover a fair amount of distance, or mostly upwards to reach a high vantage point. Directional movement is also a feature on this thing, but for all intents and purposes, jumping forward is what you'll mostly be doing. I don't find it controls much the same as a rocket jump. In total, you have 2 charges available on the jetpack, which automatically recharge after a short period of time. It's worth noting that you can't use both charges in a single jump, however. And for a couple of miscellaneous facts, you can use the jet boost to extinguish an ally, and you can also inflict damage on an enemy if you have enough skill to land on their head. But hey, you might be assuming by this point that this is my favorite part of the new update, and I commend you for your clever use of deductive reasoning, because anything that significantly changes a class's playstyle usually makes me very happy. I remember back when the Love and War update first rolled around, and holy shit, that was over 3 years ago. We really have been waiting a long time for new weapons. Anyway, when they introduced the base jumper, that quickly became one of my favorite items introduced to this game. I think I just have a fondness for items that give you more mobility options, and before this update, my default secondary for Pyro was quite often the detonator. I just like jumping around places and ending up somewhere where people never expect you to be. Now, with the thermal thruster, you can effectively play as a slightly neutered soldier or demonstration man, landing on rooftops and crossing over wide gaps which would be impossible feats to accomplish with a single flare jump. It's just ridiculous. When I was recording this footage and getting away with all of this, the only thought in my mind was, no man should have access to this much power. People might try to say that Pyro doesn't have as many advantages as he's made out to have with the jetpack, since you're throwing away a secondary weapon for mobility purposes, but that's just it. Secondary weapons for Pyro are, more often than not, a suggestion rather than a necessity. And if there's one thing that this update has taught me, what with all the Pyros running around, kamikaze fire spraying tactics are much preferred over using actual strategy. More on that at 11. And as long as we're on the topic of the thruster being a secondary item that must be active for use, I actually think this is a great idea. You can't just dive into a sniper's roost and be all, hey, what's up, no fun allowed! Sudden surprise tactics will leave you kind of vulnerable for a short period of time. And in an opposite situation where you desperately need to escape, that sudden delay could very well cost you your life. In my opinion, the downtime between switching is, quite honestly, a necessary negative attribute. The jetpack feels more like a privilege for Pyros to use. You have to plan your route out on the go and improvise when need be, but it also reinforces the ambush aspect of Pyro. It honestly surprises me how nobody's checking some of these high spots to see if a Pyro is camping out there waiting for a victim. They just don't expect it. And to take it a step further, engineers and snipers are now an even bigger counter to Pyro than they were before. In TF2, being in the air is probably seen as a good thing, but you're never exactly safe from bullets throwing you off course, and that issue is made much more apparent now that people know that Pyros are flying all over the place. The thermal thruster is easily my favorite new item of this update. And it's also my least favorite inclusion to Pyro. But that's not exactly the fault of the item itself.
Why? Why? Why?
I don't know if I've ever gone on record for saying this in any of my videos, but Pyro is my least favorite class in general. The problems I have with both playing as and fighting against him ultimately boil down to doing this. I can't help but feel that every update that touches Pyro's mechanics always inadvertently takes a few steps back. Now, I don't want to give the impression that I hate everything the developers have done, because I'll openly admit, I love the changes made to the air blast, and I also like how afterburn damage is dependent on how long a target has been set on fire. But it's also so annoyingly easy to just blind rush a guy and train your flames on him that even if you die in the process, he's probably going to burn out before he finds a fire extinguisher. In retrospect, I honestly feel kind of bad for some of the stupid kills I've gotten just doing that. Now picture almost every pyro on every pub doing this, with all of them using the jetpack. It's a special 8th circle of hell to fight pyros now, to the point where being lit on fire is practically a death sentence. On the plus side, it's made the Charge and Targe my favorite Demo Man shield again. Funny how these things work out. Truth be told, I really don't think my reaction to the thermal thruster even matters at this point. I've gotten attached to some weapons before, and then at some point or another, Valve stepped in and brutally amputated the parts which made said weapon enjoyable. I'm, at best, cautious in growing fond of the thermal thruster for that exact reason. I wholly expect Valve to just waltz in a few weeks' time and say, "Hey there! That was a fun update, wasn't it, guys? We're just gonna go ahead and change a few things about the jetpack here. Okay, now the weapon is too situational to be used ever. Have fun!" Now it won't be worded exactly like that, but the ever-continuous quest to take every existing unlockable weapon and make it competitive worthy will probably not be merciful to the thermal thruster. The damages made to items which I never even used prior to this update also really don't help at all. Yeah, that'll really make people want to use this. I guess in the end, I don't really have many more notable thoughts regarding the update. I'm glad to see a lush jungle environment is becoming a more popular theme in official maps. Yeah, that's all I got. So, enjoy the jetpack while it's still good. Our time in this world is fleeting, so there's no sense in moping about. Go hop onto a server and let loose for a little while. And you know, in spite of all the negativity, there is one thing I'm quite confident will last forever. Thanks for watching, have a great day or evening, and I'll see you in the next video.